Hello, everybody. I'm Julianne Eyre with Pivot Arts, and leading up to the Pivot Arts Festival, I'm interviewing artists who are participating as part of our virtual fest, which opens June 5th, and content will stay live through June 30th. And I'm so excited to be here today with Vershawn Sanders-Ward of Red Clay Dance Company in Chicago. Hey, Vershawn.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing the best I can right now,
Right.
the best I can.
Exactly.
I'm better now to be chatting with you for sure. I'm just going to tell people like a little bit about Red Clay. I know you guys are a 10-year-old dance organization based in Chicago. You inspire global change through creating, performing, and teaching the dances of the African diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're very involved in arts activism and wanting to really
Yeah.
transform culturally, socioeconomically, neighborhoods in Chicago that have experienced a lot of inequity. One thing I was just really fascinated by looking at your website is how you traveled to Senegal before starting Red Clay, and I'm just curious, like, can you tell me a little bit just about your early inspiration with that trip to Senegal, how that influenced your thinking about forming a dance company?
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me, and thanks for pushing forward with the festival and allowing us a platform to continue to share our work. I was just on a panel yesterday kind of talking about how to share your work in kind of a digital space right now and keep your company and your work in front of arts lovers and new people to the arts. So thanks for just pushing through. You know? We appreciate
pleasure.
that. So yes, I had the opportunity to travel to Senegal. Specifically, the village is called Toubab Dialaw, and it was a school, or it is a school, École de Sable, School of Sand, founded by Germaine Incogni. And so I met Germaine actually while I was an undergrad at Columbia College. She brought her company, Jean B, to perform at the dance center. And I was first intrigued because, first of all, it was an all-male company, and that was kind of rare to see in the States, to see all-male dance companies in the States. But so it was, and to have a woman as the artistic director and choreographer, so that intrigued me. And then I heard about the school that she'd opened, and I wanted to attend. But at the time, it was only offering training for dancers from the continent, so from different parts of Africa. But after I think it was 2007, I had finished my MFA at NYU, and she opened up her 3-month intensive or certification for dancers from around the globe. And so I applied and got accepted. I remembered as we were just moving through the village, or even just right outside the village gates, there were women selling their necklaces and jewelry and just things that they had made from their hands. And I think then that's when I first started to think about how art can affect communities in terms of economics and development, and having a space like that in a village. Like, she chose not to build it in Diane City, but she chose to take it back to a place that was closer to her home, to her upbringing, and bring that economic investment and development to a smaller village. And it was done through her passion for dance and arts and training. So, and and we would shop at the stores. And so there was this infusion of capital into that village, into that small fishing village, because of École de Sable. And it brought people from around the world to this place to see and to learn about the people and the history and the culture of it. So that was the inspiration for me. I wanted to create an organization that could have that sort of impact. So that's where the company origin came from, bigger than making choreographic work, but really looking at community impact, and so that's the foundation of the work that we do and why we work in certain communities.
I'm also deeply moved just by your sort of self-definition as an arts activist.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if you can talk just a little bit about the kind of impact, what communities specifically, what neighborhoods are you working in, and what kind of impact has Red Clay Dance had?
Mm-hmm. So I was kind of doing some research because I'm always thinking about languaging and language and how do we talk about our work. And I came across the word artivism. So it definitely is not something that I created, or, you know, it was I kind of already out in the world. I don't think it was as widely used, but it was, you know, something that I researched and found. And so I was like, yeah, I think that's how I would describe my work as artivism. It's definitely art, and it's the work of making dance, but the content or the messaging or the purpose behind it is to ignite some sort of action, whether that be first for me, but then also for the artists that are part of the project, and then for the participants or the audience that experience it. So for us, I will say that definitely, yes, our work is definitely rooted in the lives and the lived experiences of people of the African diaspora. In Chicago, we work predominantly with inside of African American and Black neighborhoods, or those that are predominantly African American Black neighborhoods, but we also work in other neighborhoods as well.
I'm also just very interested in your work with African dance companies. Can you talk a little bit about those international collaborations that you've had, and kind of the highlights of them, what you learned from working with groups from other countries, but also what are some of the communication challenges as well with kind of cross-cultural collaboration?
Yeah, I think, so the company that we work with, I think we started the project in 2017, Kega Dance Company, which was founded by Jonas Barawanga. We met in Senegal. And so Jonas was another choreographer that came from Uganda, from Kampala, Uganda. So Jonas and I were co-choreographers, which was, I'm still processing all of it. There's definitely there's several layers to it. I think how artists communicate, not only with their dancers, but how you communicate with other collaborators on a project, and whether it be a costume designer or a musician or whatever, just kind of the expectations were different from the beginning. Towards the end, and Jonas and I were actually working on some costuming, and he was like, we're just going to let them work. And I was, I'm over here like, oh God, this is not going to go good.
You're a planner.
And I can hear in the background them talking, and, there was a little, just tension, like, well, I said this, well, this is what we're doing. And then I didn't understand it that way. And so I kept wanting to jump in, and Jonas was like, we've choreographed the work. This is the work that they have to do to get the work ready for the stage, because we're not on stage with them. They're on stage together. So all of the things that they're communicating and working through right now, they need to figure out a way to communicate with each other without having us as like a bridge or a interpreter.
Like a mediator, right?
Yeah, mediator, because if something goes left on stage, we can't run out there and fix it. So it calmed me, but it definitely was like, I think he's able to take his hands off and move away a little bit quicker than I am. So that was a learning for me of how to, not only when to let go, but how to let go more and trust your artist more. So, and it really was, and in retrospect and talking with the dancers, they were like, man, that was the best rehearsal we ever had.
Okay.
I was like, what? Are you kidding me? It was like fire in there. But honestly, what they worked through was what we needed them to work through, but they had to realize that on their own. It wasn't happening with just us communicating it verbally. The physicalness of going through things is what brought out the aha moments. And that's why I love about embodied practice, because sometimes you can't talk through a thing. You really have to physically feel it to unlock and understand, oh, this is the obstacle. This is actually the problem here. So there's
so many kind of conversations now about when will we get back to normal? When,
Yeah.
when is it going to be normal again? But for many people in Chicago, normal is not good enough.
Yeah.
We live in a very segregated city. I think the coronavirus has just really pointed up, as you well know, the inequities in terms of who's getting sick, inequities in healthcare. What do you see in terms of like performing arts organizations' role in dismantling racism and looking at this moment as a time to reflect and say, wow, maybe getting back to normal, the way we were before, is actually not good enough? How can performing arts organizations kind of take this time to reflect on these inequities and make improvements?
Yeah, so I was just talking about this yesterday on a panel, but then also we are also a member organization of Enrich Chicago, which is
sure.
Their express purpose is to kind of to work at dismantling and with a focus on racial equity. And so I think I agree with you. There are systems that and things that are breaking down that I don't think need to be rebuilt. Like, they're crumbling. And I think if we really look at this as an opportunity, then we have a chance to kind of step back in and see things differently and realize that actually that was not the best way. That was not the most equitable process. That was definitely still oppressing certain groups of people. And so this is an opportunity to take that time to really interrogate and investigate the why of why things were, and to, in this rebuilding or this restructuring, recalibrating, to make those changes. So that's the first thing. For a performing arts organization, I think you have to look again at the work that you're putting on the stage, really questioning and understanding, when you say community, what that means. What specific community are you looking to engage with, partner with, work with, not control? And again, the why behind it. When I hear certain organizations wanting to expand or diversify audiences, what does that mean? And why do you want to do that work? Like, is it to benefit those individuals? Is it to amplify that culture? Or is it just to check something off on a grant application? Like, really interrogating the why behind it.
I am just so grateful to have had this time to chat with you.
Thanks. This is wonderful.
Think we're, already just this conversation is building bridges across communities, and I'm grateful to be with you today and be a part of it in this city of Chicago. We will be featuring Red Clay Dance Company starting on June 6th, and you can find more information at pivotarts.org/festival. Thanks for today, Vershawn.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
This is great.